Bringing a genre of music to the global stage is no easy task. Today we sit down with Simon Baptiste, an entertainment specialist focused on introducing soca music to the commercial world.
The best way to describe it is to imagine this really happy, beautifully filled sort of genre that always makes you want to jump up and have a good time, right? When you hear it, it kind of just brings that emotion of let's go out and conquer the world.
Soca is such a beautiful gift for the rest of the world to experience. It's like, how do we get the rest of the world to feel the joy that you feel at Carnival? I'm your host, Zenya, not your guru, just your girl. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, what do you mean? How to do this, right?
You had to. Otherwise, I would have come and got you and dragged you.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. You're actually visiting LA right now with a group of people from Trinidad.
Well, they're from all over. I mean, we have a community of creatives called ODOS. It stands for 1 Degree of Separation. And essentially, there were 1,000 of us all around the world. But right now, what we're doing is we're trying to do community building, going to different places and getting our members to congregate and learn from each other, network. And LA is like that first stop, you know, and hopefully we'll hit like London and New York and other markets in like the next year.
So what is an entertainment specialist? What is it that you do? Tell us a bit about yourself.
I want you to tell me so I can tell my mom. And my mom was like, what do you do for a living? You're such an embarrassment.
You do everything. Like, you have brought so many people together in visual, in audio, like production and TV and film. So how did you even start with all of that?
You know, I started here. I started in LA. I worked for John Dukakis and Quadri Elamine when they handled Boys to Men, Brownstone, Janet Jackson, a couple others, whatever. And it's kind of like, that you get out of college and you think everyone's going to like love you and take over the world. And it's like, go and get me my coffee.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're reduced to this like guy who's getting coffee. But it was a great experience. And then I think from that, I'm trying to kind of retrace my steps. After that, it hadn't yet caught me as a bug to do management, right? But then I got an offer to work at Main Street Records in Jamaica with Danny Brownie.
Yeah. And
he had like a lot of great artists like Red Rat and Degree. I think Vegas was there too at the time. And so I went on tour with them. And the difference is that in LA, I was always behind a desk, right? And then in Jamaica, I got to go on tour with these guys and really learn about tour management, special project management, things like that. And when I returned to Trinidad, I was like, I didn't actually think I was going to do an entertainment company. I was approached by a young man by the name of Magadan. And he was looking for someone to represent him and help him get further. And back in those days, like in the Caribbean, the idea of management was still very novel, the kind of thing you tell to your parents, they're like, what?
Of course.
I didn't get a real job.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It worked out really well because he became Maximus Dan and he had like Soca Warrior, the track fighter, and we got that placed on an EA Games thing and we toured all over the world. So, you kind of like, you let the universe kind of guide you.
Things fall into place, right? And you're like, I didn't know I'd end up in this field. I didn't know I'd end up doing this, but okay, great. Yeah. And pretty then much. All of a sudden isn't it funny how it ends up merging at the end? Like it starts here and then you're like going here and then you're going here and then all of a sudden it all merges.
I mean, it is written, right? And the idea that if you believe in what you're doing and you just kind of like, work hard and you're persistent, you're going to find your way to where you need to get eventually. It might take you 2 or 3 years. It might take you 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the path I've been on. And I ended up just getting involved in anything you could imagine over the years. And that's why the idea that I'm a specialist it comes from doing movies and short films and producing and concerts and festivals and God, I mean, so many different things that I've done.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like tired now.
But you keep going and you're making sure everyone gets no sleep while they're here.
Yeah. I'm really good at that. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? You don't need that.
So, okay. So we wanted to talk today about the culture, the past, present, and future of soca music.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, which I know I have a lot of people that follow me from the Caribbean who understand soca music, but could you give an explanation on the culture of soca music and what it is?
Well, I mean, the best way to describe it is to imagine this really happy, beautifully filled sort of genre that always makes you want to, like, you know, jump up and have a good time, right? I mean, it
confirm.
It brings, when you hear it, it kind of just brings that emotion of let's go out and you know, conquer the world, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from its festival association where people are accustomed to hearing it on the streets of our masquerade, right? Our carnival mass, and so I think that, you know, if you want to look into the whole history of it, you could go back to Rash Shorty Eye and stuff that he did to transform it. But quite frankly, there's reggae music that's known in the Caribbean, and then there's soca music that pretty much dominates more, I think, along the islands than reggae. But of course, reggae is
globally,
reggae
and dancehall.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like combined with calypso, and then there's soca, which is
So, you know, the soul of calypso, you know, however they've merged it.
And it's developed from calypso into soca. Yes.
It's a much faster kind of brand. Calypso tends to be the BPM is way different, of course, and
depending, I guess. But
yeah, exactly. And I think that over time you've seen changes to it. People bring something different, you know.
Yeah.
Bungie brought like this raga, you know, sort of sound to it, you know, and others have also defined it differently. And now what we're seeing today is that Trinidad and you know Zest has kind of influenced the music in a way that it feels almost like I don't really consider it soca like that anymore. I see it more of something that's kind of like, you know, gravitating to a place that has a connection more to maybe Afrobeat or dancehall or the things that are influencing us from all over the globe. But the roots are still very strong in our island and our indigenous nature. You know?
I always say that if you're depressed and you put on some soca music and you're still depressed after that, you need help. Like you really need help, because like soca music is so happy. Calypso and soca is so happy, and it's like uplifting. It does something to you every time you listen to soca music. It's like, oh, I feel like a lot better now.
Yeah, but you know the thing about it, and I'm saying this from being a manager, being involved in the industry for 25 years and doing it. I think that it carries its own cross and burden, right? Like, I mean, exactly what you said is what foreigners who come in as an example, like when they travel and they land on the island, they hear those type of things, right? But I feel that the problem is associated so much with the festival that when you get out of the festival, they no longer recognize it as that brand that they can really take on through the rest of the year, right? And a lot of that goes back to the way we've also marketed the brand and handled it. Like, you know, we have this tendency that when Ash Wednesday hits, it's like, okay, well, you know, let's move on. And that's been less and less in the you know 5 or 10 years, I guess. But I think that a part of that has created its own little problem where we're not really doing the music releasing every month. you know. Instead, we're just kind of following where the festival goes. So, oh, we're in Jamaica next, or we're in Barbados for crop over, we're in Toronto for Caravan, and we're like, you know, and then there's like a reset button in November, you know.
Right.
And
I
then,
think there's a reset button in like the last quarter for everyone, like across the world.
But it's different because when you look at reggae, right? And I mean, as simply as an example, right? You could have a reggae hit and still be touring on that hit 5 years later, right? You know, because like naturally, there's no disassociation from the product that's being created for, you know, beyond a period of time. But sadly, what we've done, and I would like to think that we're trying to correct it, really is the habit of, oh, well, that was last year. What do you have this year?
Right. Well,
you know?
Okay. So this is something that I think about being an artist from across the other side of the world.
Right.
And also I'm very familiar with different cultures. I'm obviously very familiar with Soca. If you guys don't know, I've worked with Marshall Montana. I've worked with Casey Phillips. I've worked with Voice the Artist, Pretty. I work with soca artists. I work with a lot of reggae dancehall artists as well. And I'm also, being from Australia and then working with Africans and working with so many different, I think culturally, I noticed the difference in different places, even from my own country. Right. The reason why I left to come to LA is because I knew, even though there's extremely talented people in Australia, there is a ceiling. And there's a ceiling because of our mentality.
Right.
And it's not that it makes anybody bad or worse or anything like that. It's just that if I want more, I have to go out and get more. Right. And so that's what I've done. I moved to New York. I moved to Miami. I moved to LA. I've lived part-time in Jamaica. I've lived in Hawaii. I've done all different things and then I've traveled the world. And I've worked in so many different cultures that I understand, and I can see from being an outsider looking in, the mentality of like the small box, the small, like, okay, this is our guidelines. And not to go on a crazy tangent, but I'll give an example. It was a Trini guy, he's a pilot, and he was talking about how he wanted to do something, and one of his clients is a billionaire, and he had this idea to partner up with this guy and do this cool idea. And this billionaire was like, well, why don't we do this? And then why don't we build this? And it was inconceivable to him because he was thinking like, oh, let's just use this much amount of money. But when you work with someone that has limitless resources, then you can just think outside the box. So is it a situation, do you feel, where it's like we have to expand our limit, like move the limitations and move the limits and just push past the limits? Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I think there are a combination of things that we have to think about, right? And it gets tiring talking about it, but the idea of crabs in a barrel, you know, and the way that we work in these silos, right? Like could be very damaging to the process of growing, you know, because I'm like, this is about me, you know, and we have to learn to be more hand-holding or pulling up each other. So a lot speaks to that. And I think that when you talk about it from a global perspective, you know, we count too many small wins as a large win. Like, you know, like, oh, well, I went to Ibiza, or I went to here and I performed. But our audience is not, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's not growing, right? But when you start dissecting who the audience is, it's really the West Indian diaspora that's following us, right? And what we need to do is we need to figure out ways like, how do we expand it beyond that?
Right.
So that we can challenge the norm and become a real factor in anything, you know, be it a conversation about Billboard charting hits or a conversation about the Grammys, right?
Right.
And I feel like when you talk about that box that we're in, we created it very much on our own, and now we have to kind of figure out, well, how do we start dismantling it?
Right. And I think when hearing things like these kinds of conversations, I can already hear you guys at home like, like, don't do that. We've got to be open. We've got to be open. Like, yeah, actually, I do want to hear soca in the rest of the world. I do want to hear soca and calypso in the charts, like the Billboard charts. So it's like, the definition of crazy. If you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, then you're going to get the same results. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, it's always going back to the drawing board. Like I have to every day. When we were talking about it, when we were coming up the stairs here, we were talking about how it would be one thing for me to go move to the place where I have the most supporters in the world. But the thing is about LA, it keeps me on my toes. I'm only as good as my last gig. And so it just keeps me going. But then at the same time, I don't always celebrate my wins because I'm always on to the next thing. Like I do need to balance that. Yeah. But if you go anywhere else in the world, it's like, yeah, I did that. That's enough, Yeah. And so it's for a greater purpose. When you're given a gift of music, when you're given a gift of like arts, creative arts, like it's a gift to give. So, and I think soca is such a beautiful gift for the rest of the world to experience. It's like, how do we get the rest of the world to feel the joy that you feel at Carnival?
Well, I think, oh boy, it's tough to answer, right? Because for me, I think that the very beauty of Carnival and what it represents and the mass and the way that we can embrace anyone who comes in and be part of it is a beautiful thing. But I think the attachment of the music to it, there has to be a separation of that as well. Because if you consistently pair the two, then the one can't survive without the other, right? And in the pandemic, we kind of saw that, right? Like what happened was there's a lot of hesitation, to release music consistently during that period. And not all, but there were some artists who admitted to me that they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to release something that could potentially be a hit and then lose out on the idea of being able to tour with that music to various festivals and get paid the money that they were expecting. So that is what I mean. Like, until we start conquering streaming and all these other things or whatever, so that there isn't the feeling that my music is only as good as the festival. You get my point? Yeah. Then we can really grow at exponential rates, right? And I do think it's happening, and it's happening through like DJs like Kashav, right? Like who's going out as an example. He's one of many. In Antigua there's Quest. God, I'm trying to think of so many others that are doing their job. Hoppy is kind of creating events too, and I think that it is happening. But on the music side, we cannot be afraid of just being like, okay, I'm going to release strategically in October or November so that it's right in time for it should be like, I want to release this track, because it's a badass track and it's gonna get out there and it's gonna play and.
Look, you can always tour in Australia because like Australia is like summer at Christmas. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we just need to approach it differently. I'm not saying that it's not that we're doing anything wrong. We just could do more things right.
Yeah. I think it's more about being open-minded, like just keeping your mind open to like expanding ideas and and I do see people doing it. I do see people being open to trying new things, and it's interesting because I'm wondering how is it that what was the catalyst for Afrobeats to cross over, because people will still speak in their own languages and it still crosses over. So it's like, is it an energetic wave? Is it a movement? Is it like
all right? No, if we're looking at it that way, I mean, and correct me, right? Because I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but you're talking about 1 billion plus people. Right, on a continent.
Yes, it's true.
Right. Now, when you look at soca music, right, and what we have in terms of our Caribbean and the diaspora, you know, they're not the same kind of numbers that match up to reggaeton, right? Or Afrobeats, right? So we have to be very careful with that. I think that a lot of the time, you know, we're like, oh, well, how did they do this? Well, they had a huge market.
Majority of people.
You know, that can, you know, support it, play it. The events all over, they're pushing it.
So this brings me to a very interesting point.
Okay.
So, there is a lot of people that very deeply enjoy Caribbean culture. And now, like Chloe Bailey, she featured on what was the song she featured on again?
I don't know.
Oh God, yeah, I'm doing my research here. What was it again? Gracious.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I did know.
Yeah, because we had it in the
text. Yeah. I knew that.
We had Chloe Bailey on the Great Hispanova, and then so we've got other people like merging into that side of things, and it like when it's a smaller group of people, it's gonna have to have more of collaborations and co-signs by artists that are really into the culture. So you're gonna have to be open-minded.
Yeah.
So if you're a smaller group of people, then it has to be a collaboration.
Yeah. But I think full blown, right? So we worked with them for a little bit. I think that they're two really genius brothers.
Yeah.
And my feeling is that they get it. And they understand what it takes, right?
No, you guys.
So like Corey and Kev, I mean, I feel like
love those guys.
Like they will be able to, you know, help break that barrier by doing different things.
Yes.
And so
Actually, I worked with them in Vegas with Machel Montano on a record with Boyz II Men.
That's
so
right.
they understand, like to your point, they understand that concept. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, that is my voice on that song. So
Yeah. And the thing about it is that having conversations with Corey and his brother, they love the idea of taking R&B and then, you know, kind of like transforming that into the sound, right? So I think that the way that the music is today, or I should say 10 years ago, we're really going to see a transformation of it. And I think like Young Brother and those type of artists are going to help, you know, continue to shift, you know, that sort of paradigm of how music is viewed in the Caribbean. And it'll no longer be, oh yeah, it's just a happy kind. They're going to be like, what we wanted to do is we wanted to be sexy, right? We wanted to be like, oh man.
That's why Fast Wine was like, so it was there. It was for the girls. Like we can wine our butty to it and have a good time, you know?
That's so different.
A bubble, sorry. Bubble. But it is sexy. It's a sexy song.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think that, I think that's the biggest thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Like what Afrobeats does, where it you know, we need to get out of that, like I heard the music, so happy with it. And now it's more like, man, that shit's sexy.
Sexy,
like,
yeah.
Like, yeah,
or fun, like up, show me your finger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I love that.
I know. Are you signed?
No.
I'm checking.
I think it's getting there, and I think the great thing is the intention is there. The intention is there. So if there is a goal in mind, then I say we because I'm with you guys, but we'll get there, we'll get there. But I love soca music. I love calypso. I love the energy and the joy that it brings. Like I can like clean my whole place and just be whining and having a good time. Who knew cleaning was so fun, Like it's just like when you go to a party and like the way that the energy is and the people and the upliftment,
it's
like
infectious, right?
It's so infectious. And I do feel like the rest of the world deserves it. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation today.
Yeah.
And I do believe that it will go there. It will get there. It's just kind of like continuing the conversation, continuing experimenting. Something will just hit and then someone will make way for the
I think what we should
rest.
also point out is that the smaller islands, right, in terms of the chain and what they're doing in Antigua and Grenada and St. Vincent, etc. I think that that's very interesting, and we should really keep an eye on that because they're experimenting in ways that I think is gonna transform what we know of the sound currently into something different, and hopefully we can hone it in a way that it'll be like, yeah, that's my jam, right? Like I want to hear that, at any point in time,
right?
So I think we're in a different time altogether, but I'm kind of keeping an eye on it and being like very hopeful.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're doing. I see the way you're bringing people together, and I think that's such a purposeful thing that you're doing. And I don't know if you ever get an opportunity to like get a pat on the back for what it is that you're doing and bringing people together. That's a very generous thing to do, to bring your network to introduce and meet one another. Because that's huge. That's such a big deal. You may be joining the people together that pave the way.
In the end, it comes down to people understanding that there's no agenda, right? It's not like I'm doing this with, in the end it's going to be this payoff for like, what I think it is for me personally is recognizing that if we can all get together and there's strength in numbers, then, we're going to break down doors and things are going to happen for everybody.
Totally.
And then maybe, I can see something from that, but I'm not doing, I mean, it's always nice, right? That you want to get like, hey, Simon, thank you, a great job.
Just receive it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Just saying, I'm saying thank you because it's really beautiful what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
I think that's something that I like to do. I like to connect the dots. I like to see people that I know working together, and I already have my community out here in LA, and they're predominantly from the West Indies, so it's fun, and Africa. So we're all foreigners out here doing our thing, but we came a long way. And so we stick together and we understand the power of numbers and community, which is huge. Yeah. Huge. Community is huge. What did they say again? I think I said it in another one. It was like, if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that that as we learn how to work together and collaborate, we'll see a lot of advancement.
Yeah.
But there's always that fear that the things that affect us, right? Greed and materialism and those things that are there, can shift it too. And so there's also through community, we also need to teach. Look, what's really important. Yeah. What
and
we're
always students. Yeah. I've been in this business for so long, and I am a great teacher at what it is that I do. Yeah. But I'm always a student. I can always learn something new every single day, even from people that haven't gone as far as I can have as I've gone. I can still learn from them. Yeah. So we're always got to be malleable in that sense. Yeah. But then also know what you know.
True. I like that.
So as your girl, and since you called, my advice would be stay open-hearted. Stay open-hearted to the opportunities. Stay open-hearted and open to new ideas and change, and stay open-minded that you may be somebody sitting in a place that doesn't have too much money and you don't have all the opportunities, but you may have the download of the song that carries out for the rest of the world to hear, to change the culture of your people. Okay, Simon, so where can everybody find you?
If we're talking about social media and the handles like
That's
Instagram,
what we're talking about.
Yeah, okay, good, got it.
You don't have to give out your number.
Yeah, you can call me at 1-868. Yeah, Get Odos, GETODOS. Yep. Right. That's on Instagram. And if they want to find me personally, I'm Island Kane, ISLAND CANE, Island Kane. There we go.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for your time.
No,
I get to have you here at my place.
I know.
All the way from Trinidad and
by the
Tobago,
way.
my international guest.
Yeah, no. This is a lot of fun, and I appreciate what you're doing, because you're talking a language that people will listen to, right? And it's a language of the heart, you know, of really good and clear wisdom. And I want to say thank you for that contribution.
Of course. I love me some soca. I love calypso. I love reggae. I love my Caribbean music. So it would be just such a joy to see you guys succeed in the rest of the world. So any way that I can help, I'm doing it. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Not Your Guru, Just Your Girl. I'm your host, Zenya. And just remember, you are the one you've been waiting for. Until next time. Skipping through dimensions.